Masti the Mastodon, a prehistoric adventure. In the earliest days of the world, before humans walked the earth, there existed a time of pristine beauty and natural abundance. It was a world untouched by human hands, where the land stretched far and wide, adorned with lush forests, winding rivers, and majestic mountains. Life flourished in abundance, with magnificent creatures roaming freely, and the air filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. In this idyllic paradise, the cycle of life unfolded with effortless grace, setting the stage for the dawn of humanity. The world was vastly different from today. It was home to species of animals that no longer exist today, such as dinosaurs, mastodons, and mammoths. Masti's story takes place in these very, very distant times, even before my great-grandfather was born. It's known as the Prehistoric era, the period when Masti lived. Prehistory refers to the time before written records, when there were no books or documents to chronicle the past. It's the epoch when humans existed, but written language hadn't yet been developed. History, on the other hand, pertains to the era in human history where written records are present. During this time, without the means of writing, people engaged in various activities such as hunting, fishing, and gathering fruits, seeds, roots, and edible plants. As time progressed, they also began to adopt agriculture and the domestication of animals. But for now, let me share Masti's story with you. In prehistory, there lived a couple of mastodons who couldn't have a child. They belonged to the large family of Anancus mastodons, named Anancus for their straight tusks, almost vertical, unlike today's mammoths or elephants. However, this couple had a son, the sweetest little elephant in the entire village, with wide ears, sparkling eyes, and a gentle voice. They named him Little Masti and took great care of him, cherishing him dearly. As he grew a little older, Masti loved to wander everywhere, and he befriended an old pike who had a habit of spinning all sorts of tall tales and fantastic stories, as if they were real events. Masti found amusement in his rich imagination and the way he told his tales. Once, he lied, saying that last night he grew 2 legs and danced with a little girl to the music of bird chirps. Another time, he claimed that in his youth he had wings, flew far away from here, and met dinosaurs. He barely escaped with his life, but they sent him back because they couldn't stand how much he talked. Masti found it amusing. He knew that dinosaurs had died out a long time ago. He had heard from his grandfather that they once existed, but he couldn't have met them. Maybe in dreams? He also lied that last year he went to an animal masquerade ball, dressed so beautifully that he was mistaken for the king of elephants and placed on the throne, while the real elephant king was chased away because he dressed as a dog. And he, the new king, immediately waged war with the Borsoni mammoths and punished them for trying to steal the food of the mastodons. Such stories he invented every day, presenting them as if they were true. Masti found great amusement in each encounter, but his parents scolded him many times for this friendship. They said, "Why doesn't he choose a friend who lives on land, like us? If not a mastodon, at least a tapir, a wild pig, an antelope, or a horse, not a deceitful old pike living in the water." But Masti didn't listen to them, because he loved the pike dearly, even though he was otherwise a very obedient child. Once, Masti went out for a walk, but didn't return. His parents waited for him, but as it started to get dark, they grew worried and began searching everywhere. They ran into the forest, but he wasn't there. They dashed to the neighboring hills, but he wasn't there either. They went to the lake where he used to bathe, but he wasn't there either. They asked the wild pigs, but they didn't know. They asked the tapirs, but they didn't know either. They asked the fishes, but no one knew anything about Masti, until they met a bird named Petu, who had seen him drowning in the lake. The parents became even more frightened, but immediately rushed to that place. On the way, they asked Petu if he had helped Masti, but he laughed at them. "How could I, a tiny bird, help an elephant? But why didn't you come and tell us so we could help?" "Oh, why should I bother for nothing? He probably drowned by the time I got to you. Better not waste my effort." The poor parents were so distraught and sad that they didn't say anything anymore. They just wanted to get to the lake as quickly as possible, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he had somehow escaped. When they arrived at the spot indicated by Petu, indeed, their son was there, nearly fainting from exhaustion, but alive. Their joy knew no bounds. They kissed him, caressed him, and cried tears of happiness at finding him alive. Masti recounted to them how he had entered the lake in a spot he had never ventured before, and it seemed beautiful. But after a few steps, he began sinking into the marsh, with nothing to hold on to save himself. He was so frightened that he began to scream, and his friend, the old pike, heard him and immediately came to his rescue. Not just him, but he quickly summoned all the pikes in the lake, who together created such a huge wave that it threw him onto the shore. Can you imagine how grateful Masti's parents were now to this old, deceitful pike, because he had just saved their son's life? Since then, they never scolded Masti for this friendship and generously rewarded all the pikes in that lake. And so, with Masti's safe return, the family celebrated their reunion, cherishing the bond that had grown stronger through the trials of their unforgettable adventure in the prehistoric world. This story was inspired by the world's most complete skeleton of the Mastodon Anancus Arvernensis, located in Baraolt, a small town in Romania. The characters and story are fictional, but their attitudes reflect human attitudes encountered daily, which can spark discussions between children and parents, friends, and grandparents. 4 historical truths are worth noting. At the beginning of the earth, there was no human presence, only plants and animals. Historians generally consider prehistory as the time before written records, while history refers to the period with written records. Prehistoric animals include the mammoth borsoni, Mastodon Anancus Arvernensis, and southern mammoth, all of which lived long after the dinosaurs. Prehistoric humans lived by hunting, fishing, and gathering seeds, plants, and roots, later transitioning to agriculture and animal domestication.